What's the matter, Kakarot?
Good morning and welcome to another Sunday service with the Blerd Church of Anime. I am your preacher, your teacher, your cult leader, whatever you want to call me, your messenger for the day, most likely. I am Blackstar, here to hopefully regale you with a inspirational story using anime, or inspirational message, I should say, not story, using anime, manga, all the things we blerdy people love. So I'm gonna hit you with it. I had a good week this week. Got over, or still kind of getting over that whatever viral infection I had the following week. Through Easter, I got a chance to not just go home and sleep because when you're sick, all you want to do is sleep. Especially when you start to do things like work, make money, blah blah blah. But I feel like I'm getting back into the spin of it. Had a really fun weekend, and watched some anime that made my mind just spiral. And one of them we're going to talk about today. I hope you had a good week. I hope the weather is getting better for you. I hope you have a chance to be outside if you want to. I hope your allergies aren't acting up, because I know some places in some parts of the country, this is death for people who have really severe allergies. If you didn't have a good week, if things weren't working out super well for you, I want to just say F last week, as we typically do here, because we always believe that the next week's going to get better. Things have to eventually get better. Maybe not perfect, but better. And let's say last week, politically, felt like a whole 10 years. Just waiting to see what was happening on a Tuesday. Oh my goodness, just America is wilding out. Maybe not America's wilding out. A certain orange person who has power is wilding out with the people allowing the wild out, and boy does that mean I have to find other ways to disassociate as someone who's politically engaged. Also, with elections that happened on the following Tuesday, and y'all, this is keep coming up, please be checking out your local elections. Please go to places like Ballotopia, however you want to say it, whatever. I'll put the name up here. To see if you have an election coming up, who's running. Do your due diligence, especially for local elections. I know nationally things looked terrible, and we know November is the big day where you get to do some national type of voting and things, but there's all these little elections coming up, especially primaries, getting to that. So please, please, please don't just be like, I don't do politics. Well, politics gonna do you. All right, we're in what we're in right now because people don't do politics and they're not informed. So that's me on my high horse, on my soapbox on that. Let me jump into what we're gonna talk about, and it's what we're gonna talk about probably isn't as happy-go-lucky as I hoped it was gonna be. Because we have to talk about Takopi's Original Sin. Yes, Takopi's Original Sin, which is up for Best Anime of the Year with the Crunchyroll Awards. People have been talking about it. I finally was like, let me sit down and watch it. It's only 6 episodes. And I realize I like animes that start off cute but are really super dark. I should, okay, not effingly, dark, possibly Made in the Abyss dark. Y'all are gonna judge me. Definitely Madoka Magica dark. And Tokopi's Original Sin definitely fits the bill. Definitely fits the bill. I'm gonna go ahead and put a trigger warning up here. There will be talk of abuse, specifically child abuse, physical abuse, as well as self-exiting, self-deletion, aka suicide, depending on where I am. People like to get censored. I tend to just use suicide. I think it's the correct terminology. Although I do love how Tony often uses the phrase self-exit as another way to talk about it. So yes, we're talking about some really tragic things this week. I buckle up. But I don't love tragedy. I like finding hope. As I did a couple of weeks ago, things on hopelessness. Hope in some tragedy. let's just get into it. So if you haven't seen Takopi's Original Sin, I am not going to spoil the whole thing. I think you should watch it. And again, 6 episodes, both about 25 minutes apiece. You get it done in an afternoon like I did. But I am going to do some spoiling of the first episode and some general themes. But it is, no matter what I give, I'm not giving the big plot twist away. I still think it's definitely worth to watch it, especially if you haven't seen it. Those who've seen it, I hope you pick up what I'm laying down about some of these characters. But Takopi's Original Sin starts off with an alien traveling to Earth, an alien from the planet Happy Planet. He's an Happian. He is named Takopi because his alien name is really too hard to say, a lot of consonants. Um, and he looks like a little octopus. So, when a child finds an alien that looks like an octopus who says pee all the time in their their language or in their speech patterns, Takopi feels like a fairly great name. I actually like it. Takopi is this cute little octopus looking alien who's here to spread happiness from his home planet, Planet Happy Planet, whatever you want to call it. So he encounters a young girl. I think she's 10. I'm pretty sure she's in the fourth grade. You know, where you're young enough, 9. I think she's 9. Young enough to still wish for things, but old enough to be part of some really crappy things. But anyway, he finds this fourth grader, 9-year-old Shizuka. She gives him some bread because he's starving, kind of crash landing on Earth. And Takopi is determined to make her happy. Shizuka isn't the happiest, very stoic. Uh, she looks very dirty. She looks very skinny. Um, what I think is very interesting is how innocent Takopi is as an alien, not from Earth, comes from a very innocent, happy planet. Very simplistic worldview. He knows a little bit about Earth, but it's kind of like, oh, Earth has these things, and like I'm here to make you happy, and these are the things that we do on Planet Happy, our happy planet. And Shizuka isn't some typical little happy 9-year-old, or someone who's like, oh, this isn't great. Shizuka's in a very terrible situation. She is the only daughter of a single mother whose father has left her and her mother. Her mother is a hostess, which means she's called the town harlot. They're very poor. They're on assistance, and Shizuka is bullied mercilessly because of that. We as the audience, when we see Shizuka, we automatically ping something's not right. Like, just looking at her backpack, you're like, this girl is getting bullied. Like, classic Japanese school bullying stuff. But Takopi doesn't realize that. Takopi just doesn't ask any questions. He's like, here's a cabbage that we use to make you happy. Yay! Um, and that's not quite what Shizuka needs. Shizuka visits Takopi every day, brings in some more food and bread from leftover from her assistant lunch. And Shizuka only really cares about one thing. That is her dog that her father left behind when he abandoned his family, Chappie. She loves that dog to death. Um, and she's like, I can get through anything as long as I have Chappie. Because Takopi doesn't really understand the totality of the world that Shizuka is living in. He doesn't, and she is, especially in this first episode, she is saying things that let you know she is not okay. Takopi's like, hey, let's go flying. And she's like, flying wouldn't change anything. And Takopi's like, oh, she must knows how to fly already. Like, no, my dude, she's someone who doesn't have a lot of hope. She's someone who doesn't believe the situation can change. Um, again, the only thing she shows love to and that shows her love is her dog Chappie. So one day, she's visiting Takopi, or Takopi sees her, and she has been beaten up, like she's hurting, and she has this beaten up collar of Chappie, and Takopi's like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And she's just like kind of unresponsive. She asked to take one of Takopi's gadgets, which he's been told that all their happy and alien technology should only be used under a happy, and that's what they call the aliens. Um, under their supervision. Don't trust a human with the gadgets. But he's desperate to see Shizuka smile, and so he's like, "Yeah, okay, you can borrow it." And then he gets a little worried, and then goes to her home, and she has self-deleted. She has used his alien tech to fatally harm herself. Takopi is like knows the concept of suicide. He doesn't understand it, but he gets what happened, and he wants to figure out why. Like, what caused her to deteriorate mental state that she decides to do this. So Takopi has another one of his gadgets that allows him to rewind time to a particular picture. And so Takopi uses this gadget to then try to figure out and stop Shizuka's suicide. And a lot of things ensue. That's the first episode. A lot of things ensue on Takopi's journey to keep Shizuka alive and to see her smile. What makes this such a good anime is seeing the simplistic Takopi truly missing it. Truly missing like human nature, complex ideas of morality, understanding complicated relationships. He doesn't pick up on the bullying even when he sees it firsthand. And like Shizuka's not gonna say anything. Shizuka's not saying, "Oh, I'm being bullied. I feel like this." Like Shizuka is in this is in the time. I think a lot of bully kids get to this place where nothing I say will make it better. I don't talk about it. I don't ask for help because they're not gonna help. And she's not wrong. She's really not wrong around this. It's like Shizuka is getting severely bullied by another girl in her class named Marina. Marina and her friends are not just verbally bullying and harassing her, they're not just destroying her property. Marina tends to be the only one really in the group though that physically harms her and like has it out for Shizuka for reasons that I'm not gonna spoil here. And the more Takopi tries to like give Shizuka a happy life, the more that Marina's bullying tends to kind of fall apart. Like she can't, make her look dumb in class or do whatever. The more Marina harbors more hatred and becomes more extreme with her bullying. The more Takopi helps by accidentally shielding Shizuka from some of like the worst parts of it, the worse Marina needs to attack Shizuka. And I think the big thing I think we all know is like something happened with Chappie, which is the thing that really pushes Shizuka over the edge that makes her do the act that she does in the first episode. And Takopi, you're hoping Takopi gets it, like protect this dog at all costs. But it seems to feel like a canon event. Excuse me, going into Spider-Verse, where this thing with the dog has to happen. And it's taking away a lot of space for Shizuka to feel like there is a reason to live. And then you get to know Marina a little bit, or you kind of follow Marina and you see that she is also coming from an abusive household where she's, like a lot of bullies, as they try to make you believe, is taking out the feelings from her, the own harm that she's being done to by her family on Shizuka because she believes it's Shizuka's fault for what's happening to her. That Shizuka's family is causing her family trouble and she needs to like do what she needs to do to vent those feelings. And you see these two things happen and they're both wrong in how they deal with it, with Shizuka just completely going internal and doesn't stick up for herself, doesn't take any support, doesn't ask for help. She's just like, this is what my life is going to be. It is what it is. As long as I have this one thing that I can put all my devotion onto, all this other stuff and all these other bad things can happen to me. I don't care if my mom doesn't love me, blah, blah, blah. And then Marina's also wrong for abusing somebody else because of the own abuse that she's dealing. But I think we as humans, people who understand complexity, especially of 9-year-old kids, you understand why they're doing the things that they're doing. And it's really frustrating to see that Takopi doesn't understand. While it's also really interesting watching him trying to make sense of the behaviors that he's seeing from these two human girls. And I think what Takopi's original sin really gets to, I think the big message that we finally get to in the end is, and this is what I really appreciate, and I think it's what makes the series so good, is that at the end of the day, things may not get better. Like, your family may not get better. Things won't magically happen. I mean, Shizuka also says, like, when her dad left, or before her dad left, when, she realized that her parents were getting a divorce when she was younger, she wished on a star, and she know that wishes and magic doesn't come true, right? And that's true. Like, your parents may not get back together. You may never see your dad again. Your parents may get that divorce. Your mom may be a little crazy. Your mom may completely ignore you in favor of other men. Like, I think the adults in this series are terrible, and I understand what these kids are suffering because the adults useless. Not just Marina's parents, not just Shizuka's parents. The teacher shows that she, like, you see this bullying happen in classroom. You know this harassment's happening. You see this poor dirty little girl, and the teacher clearly shows that she doesn't care. There's another student, a male student, Naoki Azuma, who wants to help Shizuka, but she rebuffs. He's like, maybe I can go talk to another teacher. There's a coach who's in the shows up, and she's like, it's not going to change anything. And Naoki just feels like there's nothing he can do, and there's like no adults that are like stopping this tragedy from happening. And then you find out Naoki's backstory, and like his mother is a piece of work as well. So like, do you really have these kids kind of on their own with adults who are generally either causing harm, whether they intentionally mean to or not, or are just neglectful, which is terrible. It is terrible in itself. Um, and so they lash out and do the things that they do. Like, they do. But I was getting to the main point of it is that, like, yes, so at the end of the day, these adults stay terrible. They don't really help. They don't come in and magically become better parents, better teachers, better community members. But I think what the show shows us is that if you have a friend, someone to talk to, somebody who feels like understands you, you can get through the really tough times. Like, in the end, it is this cosmic relief of being able to cry and complain. And sometimes they even have to complain, just know that there's somebody who's going through the situation with you. That's what Shizuka got out of Chappie, a dog that can't really talk, that gets unconditional love, that doesn't really understand the nuance of things, but, he is the last vestige of her father. He's someone who really cares about her, someone who's happy to see her, unconditional love. And then when that's taken away, that, makes her spiral. There's an Takopi even trying to be a friend to Shizuka is, and him trying to be like, hey, I want to be there for you. I want to make you smile. I want to make you smile. But he doesn't understand the nuances of her life. He doesn't understand what it is that's making her sad. And he comes like, I'm stupid. He's like, he's coming from this different context. And even though he wants to be there for her, even though he could be something she could put her affections on, it doesn't quite work as well because, again, he doesn't understand all the things that she is going through. And that is fair. Like, he doesn't have the context. But when she can finally get a friend, somebody who understands that life sucks and doesn't have to be going through the exact same thing that she's doing or exact same thing she's going through, but having someone who's kind of like in it with you, someone who's like, the circumstances really suck. I've also had really bad circumstances, and we can still be friends together. And we know that there's someone who cares about us. It helps you go through the really bad things in life. And, I'm big on community. I talked about nakama and friendships and how, especially in fairy tale and things like One Piece is so important. And I think this show then does kind of reinforce this worldview. There's like you don't have need a big group of friends, but you need somebody in your life who is willing to just sit there and be with you and not blame you for the stuff that is life, the things you can't control, even some of the things you can control. And that happiness again can't come from everything being perfect because again, I think what I like about the ending is that like the adults don't really change. Some of the events that have to happen, and these kids figure out it is through the relationships that they have with their peers, with other people, other family members that makes it okay for them to be able to move forward. And I have to give it like I love the ending for Azuma because Naoki, because boy, I'm out here feeling for Shizuka for the first 2 or 3 episodes, but then when she starts using this boy, bruh, I was like, oh no. Like it's not her fault. Like I see why she does it. I get where her mental state is, where she thinks, and I don't even know as a 9-year-old she knows that she's like literally entrapping this boy and that she's just using him. But I instinctively like she is using this kid and this kid is going down a very dark path because he needs to feel like the hero because of what's happening in his own family, because he feels worthless, because he's not as good as his older brother. Like, I think they do such a really, really good job of understanding the psychology and psychosis behind what these kids are doing and why. And then the idea is that, like, hey, if you really, really, really just like had someone to talk to about these things, and that's the problem. A lot of these kids don't have anyone to talk to. They don't have anybody to sit there and take their worries and take their stress and take their issues seriously, especially not adults. So I am very happy that like Naoki's ending um also has nothing to do with either Marina or Shizuka. Like that made me feel so happy. Like I was like, yes, this is not to be around either one of these girls. And it's quite refreshing to see this idea that again, life doesn't magically get like your situation may not magically get better from what other people are doing or how other people are treating you or how other people are living their life and what their issue and stuff and problems are, but your situation can get better when you actually have somebody who is willing to again be a friend to you and be that release for you, be that person who will listen to you and be next to you as you go through it. That's it. And I'm hoping that for all of you, whether your life is going amazing right now, whether you're not, you dealt with your own situations and issues, whether it's childhood trauma, whether it's current things and abuse, and not even abuse situations, like we don't have to get, super dark on this, but whatever you're going through, that you have somebody in your life, that you have that friend, that you have that cousin, that sibling, that somebody who is like, I am willing to listen to you. I am willing to be here for you, and our lives can just suck together, whether it's a partner, whatever. And I'm not saying codependency because also that thing is bad. Like everything needs to be in moderation. You don't need to be completely alone, but you also don't need to be like again, her codependency on Chappie is what sets Suzuka's off in the worst way. But there needs to be the balance of that there is somebody who you trust, who can be again even a silent partner in what you're doing. And I love that Takopi isn't that like solution because again he doesn't understand the nuances of being a human and the type of life that both Marina and Shizuka and Naoki are actually going through. And I think I also like kind of like shouts out to me how well-intentioned people, especially well-intentioned adults, sometimes try to be like that person for people going through really tough times, but because they don't understand it, because the context isn't quite there, they can sometimes end up doing more harm or they can't be the actual person that you need in those types of situations. And again, it just makes a very interesting conversation that if you are trying to be there for somebody who is living a life or going through situations that you do not understand, you know that you're their person, there's a lot to be said about you trying your hardest to understand a lot of the nuances so you can be there in the right way. And yes, sometimes it's being like the ear that listens to them, the shoulder for them to cry on, the presence that pulls them out in the dark. Just kind of sometimes just sitting there and holding someone's hand is such a huge piece in some of the lowest points. And you don't have to understand everything, but you do need to like understand their humanity and being able to like face their darkness with them without being scared away by it. And Takopi definitely grows in this journey. I think the first time Takopi like has to encounter Marina and her bully role and like how that affects Takopi is a really great scene. Just it's a terrific scene. I think there's so many like cathartic moments in this anime where these kids get the chance to really break down because they need it. They're living really hard lives and it's not fair and it's not their fault and it's adults' fault. It's always adults. Um and you need a friend. At the end of the day, you just need a friend. You need a friend who understands. You need a friend who is going not be perfect, but can be that presence in some of the darkest moments. Yeah. Let's not leave it on that. So if you haven't seen Takopi's Original Sin, I highly recommend it if you can deal with some of those like really heavy topics. Um, I also encourage you to, if you don't have one, find friends, find a person, find someone. Like they don't have to be the bestest of best friends, but it does make your situation more livable, able to get through things when you just have maybe a trauma buddy. I hate to say that, but like somebody who kind of gets it, who's walking alongside of you. That's the whole purpose of there being support groups for a million things, it's even people who have very, robust communities, if they're going through something like cancer or death of a loved one, or like a major event, having us, or they're alcoholics, having support groups of people who have gone through that same type of trauma can really, really help with, feeling that there's someone like you don't have to fully explain it. You can kind of just sit with the people and they get it. They get they know the things that they afraid are too afraid to say out loud to other people who haven't experienced it. Or they get, you know, the weird nuances where you think other people may judge you. And I think if you're somebody who is a friend or someone who is that person for someone who's going through a lot of things or have dealt with trauma or going through a traumatic experiences, especially if you're someone who's like haven't had to do that experience yourself, still try your hardest to be a safe space for them. Don't don't try to over moralize them or tell them they're wrong and how they're feeling. Do research when you can on like, what's acceptable. And if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed, which is completely fair too, find resources, find those, like I said, those groups that are geared towards people like, those veteran groups are for people who've gone through combat because, no matter how much you love your family member, your loved one who is coming back from a war, you don't understand unless you've done it yourself. Unless you've gone through the terror of cancer, sometimes you don't understand what, it's like to have to go to a doctor's appointment or to be in remission. And when you're doing your checkup, to wonder if you're suddenly never going to be in remission again. Like I think there's so many like very specific things that's why we have these groups. And that's why we have people who can befriend other folk, as you go through the situation because it's important. It just is. On a happy note, I don't know how to end this on a happy note. I think the friendship is the happy note. Find people. There are people. I think there's very few experiences in life where, especially now that we have access to the internet, where you can't find somebody who relates. And I think we can use some of our good peopling skills, or maybe you can be a little bit more innocent like Takopi, and just try to make and build that community, especially if there's not a community close to you that you want to see. That's why we built this community. For all my blerds out there who feel like nobody understands them, come around here. I do. your weird heartness. I'm gonna show more of my weird self, so I hope y'all start showing me some of yourselves too. Talk to me, talk in the chat. Let me know, have you watched Takopi's Original Sin? What did you think of it? The mangaka for it has another manga. I think it's like the Ichinoses family original secret, or there it's something about their sins, like the Ichinoses family deadly sin, something like that, that I'm now very interested in reading, and I'm gonna try to find it. Um, have you read it? Do you know anything about that? Let me know in the comments. Tell me also, did you vote for Crunchyroll's Anime of the Year? What do you think the Anime of the Year should be? I did actually vote for Takumi's Original Sin as my Anime of the Year. I'm not gonna lie. Um, it was between that and My Hero Academia, but I feel always about My Hero Academia and these final two seasons. And at some point, I'm going to have to talk about it. I'm going to process this with y'all because my therapist ain't quite there yet on how much My Hero Academia has affected me. Um, so that's going to happen probably this summer. I need to definitely process this last season. But yeah, just tell me in the chats, in the comments, did you like Takopi's Original Sin? Do you think it's the anime of the year for 2026 or 2025? Excuse me. And if not, what was your anime of the year? What should I be watching? What do you want me to do a sermon on next? Cause I'm starting to get onto new stuff, and I really really try not to preach too early on newer things. I want to give people a chance to see it. I don't want to spoil really good anime for y'all, but there's so much good anime out there right now. So you gotta be on it. If you are somebody who's like, I don't have time to watch 15 different series, unlike me, who apparently has no, I have such a robust life, but I really do try to keep all my series together, y'all. Like I will marathon like nobody's business. But if you're looking for like list of just things you should be watching, things you should be hitting, every Sunday I'm gonna give you anime that you should be hitting. If you don't know about it, you should know about it. And I need to get back on my once a month High Dive exclusives. High Dive has been losing a lot of their exclusives, which scares me about what it's going to mean for High Dive in the long run. Because now that I see not just Oshinoko, but also I Parry Everything is out in the wild and on other streaming services. And while I'm very happy that these more people can see it, I as they lose their exclusives, I'm just really, really wondering what's gonna happen to High Dive out here. But anyway, I'm yapping, I'm yammering. We're finished. I'll talk to you until next time. Bye. The Blerd Church of Anime podcast is produced by Blackstar, aka Lauren Tillman, written by Lauren Tillman, and hosted by Lauren Tillman. Music created by EL47.